Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you've been following along, you know that I am interviewing creative women and men who have made a leap. They had a job or a something that they wanted to make a leap from to something else that they wanted to achieve. Most of these people have a burning desire inside of them, a goal, a business, a book, a podcast. And so I wanted to introduce you today to my friend and colleague to talk about that. But I want you to talk to Kelly because she and we mastermind a lot together. We bounce ideas off of each other a lot. I like to have chai latte with Kelly. And, I wanted you to meet her because I think that she can really inspire you to help you make the leap and get whatever's inside of you out into the world. So please welcome Kelly Covert. Kelly, thank you for giving me your time today.
Oh, thank you, Jen. And I would like to take credit for introducing you to a chai latte for everyone.
You deserve credit.
Thank you.
I just came back from having some chai latte too. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's all me.
Kelly, can you get us started today by telling your story, a little bit about where you were and what the drive was that forced you to kind of make a leap?
Mm-hmm. I feel like for me, maybe leap is not exactly the right word. It's been more of this very long, teeny tiny step after teeny tiny step of evolving and of coming to know more about who I am and about why I'm here, like why I'm walking the earth. And I think that that's a process that we all go through as we gain in wisdom and years and experience. And so for me, that's definitely been the case. And I've always been someone who felt strongly called to support people, to encourage people, to remind people what they have inside of them. And for me, that began as a flute teacher. I'm a professional musician. I have degrees, advanced degrees in music, and that's sort of what I went to school for. And I still do that, by the way. I think that's important to note. So I didn't leap from one thing to the other. But as I did that more and more, I started to realize the thing I like most about teaching flute is reminding my students that they have everything that they need, that it's all there for them. And that, yes, it requires hard work, and that, yes, it requires practicing, but more than all of that, it requires believing that you can do it. And that's true of everything. And then, I found myself running in, little 5Ks and then longer races. And then I started doing triathlon, and I was like, oh, this is really great. I can train people how to do this. And again, what I was doing was I was teaching people how to believe that they could do something. And it just was a different form of that. So all my life, I feel like I've been coming to this place where that's really what I want to do. I want to teach of it. You have to trust that inner voice to guide you in the way that you're supposed to go, even though everything from outside often tells you you're doing it wrong, or that you need to do it different, or you should do it this way. It's really about connecting inside and believing that you are worthy now and that you have everything that you need to do, and honing in, if you will, of what my purpose on earth has been.
Well, I love that you are very open about the fact that it wasn't a leap. And actually, this is making me think about how many times I've done these interviews. It's actually never a leap, right? Like, we take little baby steps and it looks like a leap to everybody else. People will look at what you're doing on social media maybe, and they're like, oh, well, overnight she's done X, Y, and Z. Oh, Kelly wanted to do a podcast, and
backwards,
yes.
forward, and like failing and trying one thing and thinking that that's going to be the thing, and realizing, no, it's not quite the thing. And really understanding that there's so much grace for us to evolve in such a way. I don't believe in overnight success. And, part of me wants to, like, if I'm being really transparent, part of me wants to believe that, like, I will just get discovered one day and it's all going to happen like, bam.
Yes.
I want to believe that, but honestly, I don't think that it happens. I think that there's a lot of hard work. I think there's a lot of soul searching. There's a lot of listening. There's a lot of trying, failing, and trying again. And the leap part is really more, I mean, we talk about having a leap of faith, right? That's the leap. The leap is the thing that nobody ever sees.
Right.
The leap is not the action, right? The leap comes in the believing.
That you can. Believing that it's possible.
100%. And then just believing, as lovely as that is not going to get you there. Like, you still have to do the work, and that's when the crawling starts.
So this is, I think, what you do. And I don't think we've told people yet, like, what you actually do. I know that you host a podcast, and I said that, but can you talk about how you help women understand this?
Yeah, 100%. I believe that a big part of my calling here is to sit with women and listen. And when I listen to a woman, I listen to what she is afraid of. I listen to the things that she struggles with. And she tells me this in words, but also I believe that intuitively I listen in a deeper way. And I help her discover what her purpose is. I don't know what that is. She knows what it is. But when I'm coaching someone, what I'm doing is I'm listening in such a way that helps them understand themselves. And I'm reflecting that back to them. And then once we have clarity around our inner wisdom and our inner voice and are beginning to understand purpose, then we can move into action. And again, I'm not in my job is not telling someone what to do. My job is to support someone in understanding what they need to do. And that understanding comes from listening to our inner voice. So I'm, a facilitator, if you will. Like, I just help people get connected. And sometimes clear steps to connect with their voice, journaling, meditating, really specific ways of journaling. And I think that is really my role. So, it's like I said, I'm a facilitator. I'm pulling this out of someone, but it's all there. You don't necessarily need me to help you do that, but it may be faster if you.
Well, this point that you just brought up, I'm really glad you said that, because I think that the role of coach, and so they're resistant to hiring a coach. And the other kind of person that I meet is, I want you to tell me what to do. Tell me exactly the steps to take. And what's right for one client is not right for another client, and it's not right for me what might be right for you. So there's no time at all that a coach should be telling you what you should be doing, right?
100%.
So there's these two people who want you to tell them what to do, and then there's the other people who don't want to hire a coach because they feel like they already should know what to do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of confusing for people to know when it's time to hire a coach.
It is. And I think, let's talk about the person who feels like they should be able to figure it all out.
Yes.
We all have everything that we need to figure it out. But you know what? Sometimes that's really, really difficult, especially if you have kids or you're married and or you have a house to take care of, you have other responsibilities. You hire someone to support you in that and to hold space for you and to hold you accountable for those things that you say you're going to do. All of a sudden you have a partner. Not a partner that's doing the work for you or telling you what to do, but a partner that is supporting you and that is cheering you on and that is reminding you, remember what you said you were born to do?
Yes.
Don't forget, because it's easy to forget in, I think, all of the things that we do. And I know that you have a coach. I have worked with coaches before and feel like it has been some of the most valuable work that I've done, because also when you're sitting with someone who is a coach, who is listening and reflecting back to you, you begin to see the things that are holding you back in a way that's sometimes difficult when you're trying to just do it all yourself. And so I really, really think that any woman who thinks that they can do it all, sure you can. You don't have to.
Yes.
Reminder, it's not required. It's not required to do it all yourself. And it's not going to make that achievement any less of an achievement because you've asked for help. In fact, it's going to be more, I think. So that's the one kind of woman. The other kind of woman, I think what we're talking about is a confidence issue. And and I'm sure you do this in your own coaching business. You work on different things with different people. So coaching is not a one size fits all kind of thing.
Right.
So that's the lovely thing about working with an intuitive coach is you're really going to get exactly what is meant for you. And maybe that's working on confidence. Maybe that's working on believing that you are worthy now. I find that so many women think, well, I'm going to be good enough when I lose 40 pounds and when I have, started my podcast. We have to understand that we are worthy right this minute before any of that happens. There's nothing that we can do or haven't done that comes into that formula. It's not a plus or minus.
There's two things there that I would love to add on to, and I hope I remember what they are. Number one, when you lose the 40 pounds, if you haven't dealt with the worthiness issue, you're going to get to the 40 pounds gone and you're still not going to like yourself. You're still not going to like what you see in the mirror. You're still dealing with the same brain junk.
100%.
What was the second one I wanted to say? Shit. You said
about needing support, doing it all yourself, confidence.
I can't remember. Anyway, let's go on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. 100% though. I believe that, and I know that to be true. Like I've seen that happen where then you lose the 40 pounds and you're like, okay, well, what's next?
Yes. It's like never enough, right?
Right. I feel like the first probably 38 years of my life, I would get to the thing that I thought was going to be it. And then I would be like, oh, I feel the same.
I remember you talking about this on your podcast. You said you got to the end of your marathon or your triathlon, I think it was, and you crossed the finish line and you maybe gave yourself a second to pat yourself on the back. And then it was, and what's next?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. In fact, I can remember clearly, this was actually the very last triathlon that I ever did, which was many years ago. It was a half Ironman. And my goal that whole summer had been, I want to do it faster than 6 hours. Like that was my goal. And I don't even know what that meant, like where I got that or anything. And the last race, I crossed the finish line and I looked at my stopwatch and you know what it said? 6:01.
Oh, bastard.
And I was disappointed. Okay.
Disappointed.
I had just ran a race that took me 6 hours and I was disappointed. And in that moment, I didn't have the tools to be able to figure this out. But much later, I looked back at that and I was like, 1 minute? What was that about? Like I was defining my worth on 1 minute that could have been, affected by any sort of outside circumstance, had nothing to do with me, had nothing to do with my worthiness or how good of an athlete I was or how hard I had trained. I was defining myself by 1 minute. And that's when I said, that is enough. I am not doing this anymore. It is not worth it to feel this way because I am good enough right now.
It's like what I tell my clients is you're going to be ready for a coach when you're sick of your own bullshit. And in that moment, you were sick of your own bullshit. You were like, no more of this.
Yes.
No more measuring myself by this 1 minute versus the 6 hours, right?
Yeah. And maybe it's 10 pounds. Maybe it's $10,000. I mean, your 1 minute could be lots and lots of things.
Yes, I
think that we all have that 1 minute that like sticks in our craw and is like, what? Come on. And I just believe that we need to let that go and really take into account who we are. We are worthy, not because of what we have done or what we haven't done. We're worthy because we are here.
Yes.
Because we're breathing. Like that is the only prerequisite. And right? Because I didn't have to do the things anymore to prove to myself or to other people that I was good enough. I didn't have to do that. And number two, it's when I started getting very clear about what I wanted to be doing, what I wanted to bring into life, into this world, how I wanted to support people. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh,
about you is you are a true multi-potentialite. You are a creative woman who does a little of this and a little of this and a little of this. And very recently, you and I were talking about the integration of it all versus keeping them in separate silos and containerizing them.
Yeah, this is a huge part for me.
Can we talk about this? Because that moment where you were like, I'm this and I'm this and I'm this and I'm this, and you saw like the thread through all of them, that was very freeing for you. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah. Well, just to give you guys a little bit of background, like I said, I'm a professional musician. I teach. I play professionally in the professional orchestra here in Syracuse. I work for the symphony several hours a week doing marketing and fundraising. And that's something that I love doing. I do my coaching business. I have my podcast. Oh, and by the way, I have 2 teenage boys.
Oh, them. Are you married too by any chance?
I am.
Oh, him.
Yes. And I have a dog. She's my favorite.
I was going to say, she trumps everybody else.
Totally, 100%. And I sell Beauty Counter.
Oh, that's right.
That's the other thing. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. And so like I was struggling, like, how can I pull all of these things together? The parts of this part of my life touch this part of my life. And I don't know, not intentionally kept it separate. It just seemed easier.
Like it should be. Separate. Yeah.
Or like there's something wrong with me that I do all of these things, and that's confusing and too difficult for people to understand. And I had this understanding, like it's just a breakthrough of like, if I'm really talking about my brand, Kelly Covert, I have to talk about all of these things because that is what I do. And I don't want to do only one of them full time. That has never been my goal. And I've been very clear on that. I don't want to give up any of those things. And because I have made that decision, I have to also honor what that means about my results in any one given area.
This was a really important piece because I really want people to listen here. I remember sitting at the lake and you being like, this should be this should be that. And this what you're about to reveal is a big deal.
It's a really big deal because we get a lot of information, I think, especially as creatives, especially as people who want to have their own business, of what successful looks like. Successful means I'm making 6 figures. How many times have you heard that? Oh my God. I will teach you how to make 6 figures in the next year. And, you know, we get a lot of messaging about what things should be, what qualifies you to be successful. And I would create these goals every year for my business, for my coaching business, and I would not hit them. And I would feel like disappointed, and I would feel mad at myself, feel like I didn't follow through, that I was not good enough. And when I got really clear on the fact that I am not spending enough time on my business to generate that much revenue, and that's just reality.
But you didn't want to spend more time than that.
I didn't want to spend more time than that. So I had to adjust what I expected my results to be.
Yes, so much. Yes.
So, and it was so freeing, Jen, because all of a sudden I was like, oh, I don't have to make 6 figures in order to be successful. And the next step for me was to focus more on impact than on revenue. Because when I focus on revenue, I get stuck in that should place. And that's my personality. I think that there's a lot of parts of my personality that wants to do things right. Like I want to do things the right way. And that means it has to be like XYZ all straight in a row. And that conflicts with the part of my personality that wants to do many, many things.
I think for female entrepreneurs, especially heart-centered, creative female entrepreneurs, that we need to let go of, why aren't we making enough money? Why am I working so hard? What is the ingredient in the recipe that I don't have? Because I really thought there was one right way to do things. And I would look at him and, hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry.
That's okay, bless you.
And I would look to him to say, what are we missing? What are we missing? And he kept telling me, there's no recipe Once you can let go of that, then you're free to figure it out. It's what do you want it to look like?
And the right way is not going to come from somebody else.
Yes.
It's going to come from you. Like Jen's right way, and maybe right is not the word. Jen's successful way is not my successful way, is not Mary's success for us. And that doesn't mean to stop learning or to stop, looking at what other people are doing, although that might be a good thing to do for a moment.
Talk about your detox that you did.
Yeah. So and this is really recent for me that I made this discovery of like, I need to honor who I want to be instead of honor what I want to be, meaning successful, right? I need to honor who I want to be. And so in order to do that, I unsubscribed from all of the news people I was following on Instagram. And these are even people that I know or coaches that I've worked with before, because I really felt like I need to honor my own wisdom. And for me, the best way to do that was to fast from other people's wisdom. I mean, I'm a student and I've been learning my whole life. And I feel like the solution to everything is to read a book about it. And so I've read all of the books, and there comes a time where you just have to put the book down and you have to trust that your wisdom is there and that it's going to lead you in the right way, even if it feels different than how someone else is doing it.
Right. I think that this goes back to the tools you were talking about in the very beginning, the journaling that you have your clients do, the meditation, the just being, in your own body and letting the intuition bubble up. I think that you really need those tools in order for this part to work.
100%. And I think what those tools allow you to do is they allow you to get to know who you are, kind of tendencies. So you can start to, unpack all of that and realize you don't always have to respond in the same way that you always have. Like that's okay. I don't believe that our personalities are set. I really believe that as we come to know more about who we are, we can choose who we want to be. I used to be a rule follower. Like I got straight A's and being the rebel that craves breaking the rules, that craves being
a bad girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the part of me that like when I was in college, I did not have fun in college. You know why? Because I couldn't allow myself to let go of that. And so as I've gotten older and understood that about myself and about where that came from my past, from things that happened or whatever, I can release that. And I can understand that that doesn't define me and I am allowed to change.
We get to a certain age and we think we should have, I don't know, ripened by now. Like that's it. It's just, that's as good as it gets. And I think that when we get to that place where we're like, meh, everything kind of feels meh, or we're feeling like a little itchy in our body and we know we want something different, that's where an evolving is about to happen. And you need to give yourself this grace that you're talking about to know that something new is coming, and it's okay. Even if the people in your life don't like it or roll their eyes at you or tell you you can't do it. And again,
when I start to feel friction, right? And I think we can respond to that friction in a couple of ways. We can go away from it like, no, I don't want to feel like that. Or we can go deeper into it and understand that it's just telling us something. It's just giving us information. Yes. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but if we listen to what the information is, then we're going to find our way through it onto something, at a higher level. And that's what I want. Like, God forbid I ever get to a moment in my life where I feel like I'm done. Like, shoot me now.
That's when they're going to put you in the casket. Yeah, right.
I know. Jen, promise me you will.
I'm your girl. You know it.
I say that to my musician friends a lot too. I feel like I know quite a few older musicians who just feel like they're like, oh, we're playing Brahms this week. I've done it 10 times. Go to it in the first place. You don't choose music because, you're going to make a lot of money.
Right.
You choose it because it calls you, because
Yeah.
you cannot choose something else. And I say the same thing, when there comes a day when I'm on that stage and I'm not feeling moved by what
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing, I need to quit that day
It's
because
it's a beginner mindset that I call it. So like it's the difference
yes,
between going to the Brahms and saying, "Oh, I've done this 1,000 times. I can do this in my sleep," versus coming to it and asking your brain, "What new thing can I get out of this today? How
yeah.
can this excite me today?" And if you ask your brain those good questions, it comes up with answers. It's
Mm-hmm.
designed to do that.
Or you can just forget everything you've done and then it's always like new.
Yes. And then
That's
it's
also
always
a
new.
strategy too.
Like your brain's like an etch a sketch. You just shake it a little and
Yeah.
everything's cleared out.
Gone.
Kelly, I want to thank you for all of this really amazing insight, because there's so many creative women out there who maybe don't see themselves as creatives, and maybe they don't see themselves as possibly bringing their ideas to life. But I think that you show people that you can have a lot going on and it doesn't need to overwhelm you. It doesn't need to rule you. I look at you and you are in charge of your life.
Most days.
Yeah. I mean, life gets lifey, but you are making the decisions. You're driving your life. It's not the other way around. And I think that more women can bring their goals to life, make their ideas a reality, if they could take on some of the perspective that you've got about worthiness and how they approach who they are and how they approach what they want. So thank you so much for that perspective today. I know that people can listen to your podcast for free, right?
Totally.
Tell us
100%.
about your podcast.
So my podcast is In Her Voice, and it's sometimes solo episodes where I'm just riffing on the things that my inner voice is telling me to talk about, or the things that are going on in my life. And I feel that whenever I'm called to put something out there solo on the podcast, that it's for someone,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. And then I
So
also,
you think it will, it's like it's going to land on the right ears, the ears that
oh
need to
yeah,
hear it. Yeah.
the person who needs to hear that will hear it. And it's usually more than one person.
And I want to
And
stop you there, because I know a lot of women want to create a podcast and they tell themselves nobody wants to hear it. And what you're saying is do it anyway, because it's going to land on the ears that need to hear it.
not only don't think about that someone doesn't want it, someone needs it. Like maybe that one podcast that you put out there is the reason that you are here on this earth.
Mm.
And if you don't do that thing, you're missing out on that. Like I don't want to miss out on a single thing that I was meant to do here. That's what I'm most passionate about. Like all of it, like knowing that I don't have to know every single little thing. But when I'm listening to my inner voice and I'm being who I am meant to be in this world, that is my purpose. So, and I interview women too about the same thing, asking them, how do you listen to your inner voice? How do you find the courage to do the things that you've done? What are the tools that you use? What are the strategies that you use? So lots of different kind of women, some business women, some not, therapists, healers, yoga teachers, all the whole spectrum. And they share their wisdom, which I love, to just sit under the voice of another woman as she shares her inner voice. It's very, very powerful. And you can listen to that anywhere that you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, all of the things, or you can get it on my website at kellycovert.com.
I'll put the links to that in the comments. And how can people work with you if they're looking to bring their voice to life and they need a coach to sit with them and do all the things that you say that you do?
I would say the best way to talk about it would be to talk with me about it in a discovery call, and I'll give you the link for that too. It's on my website. And I don't know when this is coming out, so I will put this out here that I'm doing a free 5-day journaling challenge starting on January 14th, all about what I like to call inspired potential.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel that women like us who are natural overachievers, who work ourselves to the bone, sometimes potential can weigh heavy. And I want to talk about a new way of thinking of potential that really opens us up to our purpose,
This
that
is
opens up to who we are supposed to be.
Is this I've never heard you do this before. This is new
No,
content?
it's new.
Yay!
Mm-hmm.
Exciting.
Yeah. So this has all come from my whole integration process.
Mm-hmm.
As I've discovered the idea of integration, like realizing that what I just said, like that potential is about being who you are and not about like crossing off the things on your list.
Thank you so much, Kelly. There's so much to think about here, and it's also very inspiring. And I think it's motivating that people can take action, and maybe that action is kind of an inaction, right? Like a sitting with
Yeah.
or writing about.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And so sometimes that is the action we need to take.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Thank you so
Okay.
much,
Thank
Jen.
you, Kelly.
It was
This was
fun.
fun. And plus, I love talking to you. Thank
I
you
know.
so much. All right. Thanks, Kelly.